dis quelques mots en français et ensuite on fera le reste en anglais. Je vois que M. Vassilenko, que j'aperçois, qui ne parlait pas français il y a quelques mois, mais il parle français maintenant, puisqu'il a l'air de comprendre ce que je dis. Bien, mesdames, messieurs, c'est un immense plaisir de vous accueillir pour cette 17e édition de la World Policy Conference. Et je voudrais particulièrement, si vous le permettez, avant de commencer la séance, je voudrais tout particulièrement remercier les Français qui sont arrivés dans cet hôtel à 4 heures du matin, après un vol un peu compliqué. Pour la traduction fonctionne. J'ai envoyé tard hier soir un message à tout le monde pour leur demander d'être ici 1h28 après le lever du soleil. Enfin, en fait, non, 1h58 après le lever du soleil, donc qui est à 6h32 ici. Et j'ai l'impression quand même que le message a été partiellement entendu, et donc je les remercie. Now I'm going to switch to English, and we will start formally this session. And I would like to thank once more Madame Noura Al-Kaabi, who is Minister of State of the Emirates, the United Arab Emirates, and who will welcome us, so for the second time. Noura, I want to thank you very much again. It's a great pleasure to have you with us again. And now you are our host, and please go to the podium, and we are going to listen to you. Thank you very much again.
Good morning, everyone. I just hope you had your coffee after Thierry's request for you to join us earlier this morning. Welcome to Abu Dhabi, Bienvenue à Abu Dhabi, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, and esteemed speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to address you today, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to the United Arab Emirates for the 17th edition of the World Policy Conference. We want to begin by thanking Thierry de Montbrial, founder and executive chairman of the WPC, as well as founder and executive chairman of the French Institute for International Relations, and the wider WPC team for organizing this conference and bringing distinguished guests to deliberate on critical issues that are shaping the trajectories of our societies and nations. As a country, we are excited to host this distinguished gathering for the 4th time. WPC, as a forum, has consistently fostered the kind of open dialogue and innovative collaboration that we value so much over here. Over the years, this conference has become an essential space for addressing the pressing challenges of our times, driven by the insights and contributions of global leaders, policymakers, and thinkers. Your presence here today, representing diverse perspectives and areas of expertise, underscores the shared commitment to seeking solutions to the world's most urgent and complex issues. Collaborative spirit is the bedrock of the World Policy Conference. As we convene, we do so in a year of profound global uncertainty and transformation, from geopolitical tensions to environment crises. The challenges the world is facing are vast. Multiple concurrent conflicts threaten peace and stability in Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. At the same time, 2024 was packed with an unprecedented number of key elections that will shape global policy in the coming years. Yet, amid these changes, there's also the promise of progress. grounded in our collective determination to chart a positive path forward. As we begin, it is imperative to acknowledge the ongoing tragedies that weigh heavily on the global conscience. The war in Gaza is now over a year now, and the loss of civilian lives continues. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza remains a deep source of concern, with untold suffering and loss of life. The UAE reaffirms its call for an immediate cessation of hostilities. We believe firmly in the need of de-escalation and the delivery of life-saving aid to those in desperate needs. The situation highlights the critical need for robust diplomacy and cooperation. It serves as a stark reminder of the interconnected nature of global peace and security. We have seen the spillover effects of the war in Gaza firsthand in Lebanon. At the same time, we have seen the promise of diplomacy in brokering a ceasefire in Lebanon. We are hopeful that this could lead to a further improvements in the situation, and there will be a similar diplomatic achievements in the near future. The conflicts do not remain contained. Their consequences ripple outward, disrupting economies, straining communities, and testing the resilience of societies far beyond their immediate borders. Ladies and gentlemen, the war in Ukraine continues to strain the international order, fueling divisions and creating ripple effects that impact global energy markets, food systems, and multilateral fora. The conflict in Sudan continues unbattered, as we witness the unfolding of a humanitarian catastrophe in real time. Throughout all of this, we believe it is essential that we continue to uphold the principles of dialogue and mutual respect, even in the face of stark disagreements. We must work tirelessly to find diplomatic solutions. We must keep talking to each other without dialogue. Progress is impossible. At the same time, we must be mindful that the world is undergoing profound shifts in its economic and geopolitical landscape. The rise of the new economic groupings and the evolution of multilateral organizations reflects a growing recognition that the traditional system of global governance must adapt. There is a pressing need for more inclusive and equitable framework that gives voice to emerging countries, while preserving the core values of cooperation and shared responsibility. Still, it is vital to recognize the enduring importance of international institutions. Organizations like the UN, despite their challenges and need of reform, remain indispensable platform for addressing global crises. At the same time, regional organizations like the African Union and the League of Arab States have a critical role to play in complementing these efforts, bringing localized insights and tailored solutions to the table. The challenges and changes we face are compounded by accelerating technological advancements. Artificial intelligence, in particular, is reshaping industries, societies, and even the way we perceive human potential. While these innovations offer extraordinary opportunities, they also bring ethical dilemmas and risks that must be managed carefully. We are eager to unleash the power of human creativity, but we also cannot ignore the real and potential harms of mismanaging AI. In the UAE, we are committed to fostering a balanced approach, leveraging technology for good while safeguarding against its misuses. Environmental challenges, meanwhile, remain defining crisis of our time. Climate change is not a distant threat. It is a present reality that demands immediate and sustained action. We are seeing the cumulative effects of it already. The UAE has long prioritized climate action, including as the host of COP28, emphasizing the need for inclusive and result-oriented collaboration. We stand ready to support future COP efforts as well. Our efforts to address climate crisis must also encompass the intertwined challenges of food and water security and economic inequality. Climate-induced disruptions to these essential resources threaten not only the livelihoods of millions, but also the stability of the entire regions. These challenges threaten development goals and could undermine hard-won progress. Tackling these issues require integrated strategies that harness innovation, promote resilience, and ensure that no one is left behind. Equally important, it is the role of education and human capital development in building a sustainable future. An educated, empowered populace is the key for building this future. As technology transforms our economies, the need for a skilled and adaptable workforce become ever more critical. The UAE has long prioritized investments in education with a focus on empowering youth and women as drivers of change. We firmly believe that the diversity and inclusion are not just a moral imperative. They are practical necessities for innovation and progress. Ladies and gentlemen, as we reflect on these global challenges, we are reminded here in the region that the Middle East stands at a crossroad. The region's history of conflict and division is well known, but so too is its potential as a hub for innovation, trade, and cultural exchange. We have seen this potential become reality in some places, and we are eager to further foster this progress. Building a future rooted in cooperation and mutual respect is not only desirable, it is essential for the global stability, for a region that stands at the axis of change. This requires addressing the underlying drivers of conflict, from political grievances to economic disparities. It also demands concerted efforts to promote tolerance and counter the forces of extremism that seeks to divide society. Terrorism and extremism continues to threaten societies, demanding our unwavering attention, decisive action. The UAE remains steadfast in its commitment and its principle of tolerance and coexistence. The challenges of the Middle East are not isolated from the global trends. The shifting dynamics of international alliances underscore the need for multilateral approach that are inclusive and forward-thinking. These developments present opportunities to rethink how nations collaborate, emphasizing connectivity, shared prosperity, and mutual accountability. This global interconnectedness and the requirement for collaboration is here to stay. Ladies and gentlemen, if all of this sounds like a lot, that's because it is. But let us recognize that the challenges we face are not insurmountable. Humans are capable of crafting solutions, even the toughest problems. As history has shown us, the challenges require bold thinking, collective effort, and a firm conviction in the necessity of cooperation. The UAE stands ready to play its part as a partner, as a bridge builder, and a champion of peace and prosperity. We remain committed to fostering an environment where collaboration and innovation can thrive, guided by the values that unite us all. As we begin this conference, let us engage with open minds, knowing even small steps can lead to meaningful progress. I wish you a productive and inspiring conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Are you leaving now? Well, thank you very much, Madam Minister. And now it's my great pleasure to give the floor to the Vice President of the Ivory Coast, I should say that in French, Vice-président de la Côte d'Ivoire, Monsieur Tiémoko Meyliet Koné. So, Monsieur le Président, vous avez la parole.
C'est que j'ai mis. Merci. Sa sainteté Bartholomew Ier, Patriarche ecumenique de Constantinople, Madame la ministre secrétaire d'État aux Affaires étrangères de l'État des Émirats arabes unis, Monsieur le Président de l'Institut français des relations internationales et de la World Policy Conference, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs, je suis heureux de prendre la parole à cette 17e édition de la World Policy Conference, ici à Abu Dhabi. Je tiens à adresser mes salutations à Madame Noura Kaabi, ministre secrétaire d'État aux Affaires étrangères de l'État des Émirats arabes unis, ainsi qu'aux autorités émiraties, ainsi qu'aux autorités émiraties qui ont rendu possible l'organisation de cet événement d'envergure. Madame la ministre, malheureusement elle est déjà partie, je vous prie de bien vouloir transmettre à son Altesse Cheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, président des États des Émirats arabes unis, les salutations chaleureuses de son Excellence M. Alassane Ouattara, président de la République de Côte d'Ivoire. Je voudrais enfin exprimer mes remerciements à M. Thierry de Montbrial, président de l'Institut français des relations internationales, pour avoir encore une fois associé la Côte d'Ivoire à cet espace privilégié de réflexion économique et stratégique. Cette plateforme permet aux décideurs, chercheurs et leaders d'opinion de divers horizons d'échanger sur la marche du monde, de partager leurs idées et de proposer des solutions pour un avenir meilleur. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, cette édition de la World Policy Conference se tient dans un contexte mondial particulièrement critique sur les plans sécuritaires, économiques et politiques. Les défis auxquels le monde est confronté sont nombreux et appellent avec acuité à une prise de conscience collective ainsi qu'à une action urgente et concertée. Au plan sécuritaire, les tensions géopolitiques sont de plus en plus récurrentes et favorisent des conflits armés dans plusieurs régions. Ces affrontements violents menacent d'entraîner certaines parties du globe dans une spirale incontrôlable, compromettant gravement la paix et la stabilité. Une telle situation est aggravée par le fléau du terrorisme, notamment dans les régions comme le Sahel, où les acquis obtenus après des années d'efforts sont mis en péril. Sur le plan économique, la récurrence des crises financières ainsi que les chocs exogènes affectent l'économie du monde en général et particulièrement celle des pays en développement. Ces perturbations réduisent les investissements, aggravent les inégalités et fragilisent surtout la stabilité socio-économique. À ces crises s'ajoutent les effets dévastateurs du changement climatique, avec des sécheresses prolongées, des inondations destructives et des vagues de chaleur extrêmes qui n'épargnent aucune région du monde. Ces phénomènes menacent fortement la sécurité des biens et des personnes et contraignent de nombreuses populations à se déplacer chaque année vers de nouveaux refuges. Les attentes placées dans les grandes conférences internationales sur le climat, notamment les COP, restent hélas largement insatisfaites. Les engagements pris notamment en matière de financement vert en faveur des pays les moins avancés demeurent insuffisants pour permettre une transition écologique juste et équitable. Dans le même temps, le monde fait face à une révolution technologique inédite, marquée par l'intelligence artificielle qui promet certes des avancées majeures, mais avec des risques importants de dérive si aucune réglementation n'est mise en place rapidement. Mesdames et messieurs, cet environnement international délicat compromet forcément les efforts en faveur du développement partout dans le monde. Les objectifs de développement durable, les ODD, adoptés comme feuille de route universelle, peinent à se concrétiser. Selon le rapport 2023 des Nations Unies, plus de 80% des cibles des ODD affichent des progrès limités avec de faibles chances d'être atteintes d'ici 2030. Les conséquences sur la population mondiale sont alarmantes, avec des millions de personnes qui vivent toujours dans une situation de précarité extrême. Le constat est encore plus sévère en Afrique subsaharienne, où la pauvreté, le chômage des jeunes et le manque d'infrastructures continuent de freiner les perspectives de développement. Sur le plan économique, la reprise post-pandémie reste fragile et les perspectives dans plusieurs régions demeurent insuffisantes pour répondre aux attentes et aux besoins croissants des populations. Mesdames et messieurs, malgré ce contexte international marqué par des défis majeurs et de nombreuses incertitudes, la Côte d'Ivoire a su préserver sa trajectoire de croissance économique grâce au leadership du président de la République, son Excellence M. Ouattara Alassane. Sous son égide, des efforts soutenus ont été déployés pour accélérer la transformation structurelle de l'économie nationale dans le but de hisser le pays au rang des économies à revenus intermédiaires de la tranche supérieure à l'horizon 2030. Depuis 2011, 3 plans nationaux de développement successifs ont servi de cadre stratégique pour orienter les réformes et les investissements nécessaires à cette transformation. Ces plans ont permis d'opérer des réformes structurelles ambitieuses et de réaliser des investissements massifs pour doter la Côte d'Ivoire d'infrastructures modernes et compétitives dans les secteurs clés de son économie. Autant d'efforts qui ont contribué à redynamiser l'économie avec un taux de croissance moyen d'environ 8% par an au cours de la dernière décennie. Ces performances reposent également sur la confiance des partenaires au développement et sur la dynamique du secteur privé qui joue un rôle clé dans la diversification et la modernisation de l'économie. Le taux d'investissement qui était inférieur à 9% en 2011 a progressé de manière significative pour dépasser 25% en 2023. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, si des progrès peuvent être réalisés à l'échelle nationale, il reste néanmoins évident que les défis actuels auxquels le monde est confronté exigent des réponses globales, inclusives et ambitieuses. C'était d'ailleurs l'objectif du sommet de l'avenir, organisé en marge de la dernière Assemblée générale des Nations unies, qui a abordé les principaux enjeux et défis pour le futur du monde. Consciente de l'ampleur des actions à mener, l'Afrique a adopté l'agenda 2063 de l'Union africaine. Ce cadre met l'accent sur des priorités stratégiques telles que la résilience économique, la transformation structurelle, l'amélioration de la gouvernance, le développement du capital humain, l'adéquation des compétences avec les besoins du marché du travail et le financement des projets phares de développement. Le président de la République de Côte d'Ivoire, son Excellence M. Alassane Ouattara, a été désigné champion pour assurer le suivi et la mise en œuvre de cet agenda. La zone de libre-échange continentale africaine, ZLECAf, constitue également un pilier essentiel dans la mise en œuvre de la vision du développement stratégique du continent. Ce projet, qui représente un levier fondamental pour renforcer l'intégration économique régionale, permettra de redynamiser les échanges interrégionaux, stimuler les industries locales et favoriser une croissance inclusive à l'échelle du continent. Pour que les initiatives africaines puissent atteindre leur plein potentiel et favoriser l'émergence du continent, certaines problématiques globales devraient être prises en charge de façon plus efficace au niveau mondial. En premier lieu, il est impératif de résoudre la question cruciale du financement du développement en mobilisant des ressources adaptées aux besoins croissants des économies en développement. Pour atteindre cet objectif, une réforme profonde de l'architecture financière internationale, telle qu'évoquée lors du sommet de l'avenir, pourrait jouer un rôle déterminant. Dans le même temps, les engagements pris lors des COP en matière de financement de l'action climatique devront se matérialiser le plus rapidement possible afin de soutenir l'adaptation des économies africaines aux impacts croissants du changement climatique et d'accélérer leur transition écologique. Enfin, aucun des efforts ne pourra porter ses fruits sans une attention particulière à la jeunesse, notamment en Afrique, où la croissance démographique figure parmi les plus rapides du monde. Cette jeunesse, qui représente un réservoir inestimable de talent et d'innovation, doit être placée au cœur des priorités, en mettant l'accent sur l'éducation, la formation et l'emploi pour en faire une véritable force motrice de transformation. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, nous avons le devoir collectif de transformer les défis mondiaux en opportunités pour bâtir un avenir plus inclusif, durable et prospère. En unissant nos efforts, nous pouvons poser les bases d'un monde plus consensuel pour des générations présentes et futures. Pour cela, les instruments de dialogue et de coopération internationale, tels que la présente conférence, doivent jouer pleinement leur rôle en favorisant des partenariats solides et des engagements concrets mis en œuvre de façon résolue afin de dessiner ensemble un avenir plus équitable pour tous. Je salue donc l'initiative de la World Policy Conference qui constitue un cadre idéal pour engager des échanges constructifs autour des défis majeurs et identifier des solutions concrètes pour y répondre. C'est sur cette note que je voudrais finir en renouvelant mes sincères remerciements à M. Thierry de Montbrial pour cette opportunité offerte aux dirigeants du monde d'échanger à nouveau sur les défis liés à la prospérité de l'humanité. Je vous remercie.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Merci beaucoup. Et maintenant, donc merci infiniment, Monsieur le Vice-président. Et maintenant, j'ai le plaisir et l'honneur de passer la parole à Sa Sainteté Bartholomew Ier, qui nous honore presque chaque année de sa présence, archevêque de Constantinople et patriarche œcuménique, qui va nous parler d'un événement à la fois religieux mais politique de la plus grande importance qui s'est produit il y aura l'année prochaine 1700 ans, qui était le concile de Nicée, et qui va être célébré l'année prochaine, mais je le répète, qui a une importance évidemment historiquement religieuse, mais ce n'est pas du point de vue théologique que va se placer Sa Sainteté, mais d'un point de vue plus général et en particulier politique. Votre Sainteté, j'ai l'honneur de vous passer la parole.
Monsieur le Président de l'Institut français des relations internationales, chers amis, nous vous félicitons d'avoir organisé cette 17e édition de la Global Governance. Je vous remercie de tout cœur de m'avoir invité encore une fois. C'est un honneur pour moi de pouvoir m'adresser à cette assemblée distinguée. Je vais continuer en anglais. Your Excellencies, distinguished leaders and participants, dear friends, it is with profound gratitude that we address this esteemed gathering of the World Policy Conference 2024 here in Abu Dhabi, a city that exemplifies how vision and wisdom can transform challenges into opportunities. Our presence in this remarkable setting, where tradition harmoniously coexists with innovation, offers an apt backdrop for our deliberations on global governance and international cooperation. We bring greetings from the Church of Constantinople, the Ecumenical Patriarchate, an institution that has witnessed and participated in 17 consecutive centuries of human history, adapting to changing circumstances while maintaining unaltered its fundamental principles and values. One of these core principles of the Orthodox Church is its conciliar nature. For this reason, it is also known as the Church of the Councils par excellence. This conciliar tradition offers valuable insights for our contemporary global challenges. The upcoming year 2025 holds particular significance as we commemorate the 1700th anniversary of the First Ecumenical Council of Nicaea. In 325, Emperor Constantine the Great demonstrated remarkable foresight by gathering Christian bishops from all over the known at that time Ecumene to primarily address pressing theological matters, but also closely linked to them questions of social cohesion and imperial unity. The issuance of the Edict of Religious Tolerance, also known as the Edict of Milan in 313, a turning point not only in the history of Christianity, but also of religion in general, as well as Constantine's victory over Licinius in 324, marked a profound religious milestone, a new triumph of the standard of the cross over the sacrifices of the gods. Later acts of Constantine, along with the convocation of the Council of Nicaea, such as his general exhortation to embrace Christianity while preserving free conviction and building a framework for theological debate, set the stage for a new relationship between the spiritual and the temporal power. His vision went beyond mere political calculation. He saw that true social cohesiveness needed institutional framework as well as spiritual basis. Like modern global difficulties, Constantine's problems needed careful balance between unity and variety, authority and freedom, history and progress. The way the emperor approached social peace and religious pluralism provides an insightful perspective for our present quest for world understanding and collaboration. The difficulties Constantine and the fathers of Nicaea encountered, the preservation of unity among variety, tackling socio-economic injustices, and advancing peace, surprisingly resemble the challenges of our time as we assemble in this historic venue. The Church at Nicaea manifested sensitivity towards those who have severed themselves from communion with her, and showed concern for those who do not understand her voice. This awareness helps us today to tackle modern problems. When, for example, Orthodox, Catholic, Anglican, and other Protestant Christian communities will celebrate Easter on the same date in 2025, next year, we will see an amazing convergence. As we have repeatedly highlighted lately, more than a calendrical coincidence, this alignment offers a great opportunity for togetherness, especially since the way of celebrating the date of Easter was one of the issues that the Council of Nicaea resolved. A real step towards repairing old conflicts is the call from the Ecumenical Patriarchate and our modesty to the Roman Catholic Church and our elder brother, His Holiness Pope Francis of Rome, to go back to the Julian calendar for common Easter computation. Based on our knowledge of the Church as Christ's body, this realistic proposal presents a clear road towards unity. Joint celebration can foster better mutual understanding and more significant dialogues amongst the Christian traditions. This timing reveals that in our basic celebrations we keep common ground despite long-standing divisions. Celebrating Christ's resurrection together helps us to acknowledge our common past and forward towards future unity. This joint celebration will assist us to overcome other differences by demonstrating that our shared faith allows us to go beyond past divisions and cooperate for God's glory. Inspired by Nicaea's wisdom and contemporary experience, we propose a few doable actions we may take to honor our spiritual legacy while addressing issues of the current society. The wisdom of Nicaea teaches us that global challenges require global responses, grounded in shared values and mutual respect. These recommendations come from thorough study of historical precedent and contemporary need, therefore integrating ancient knowledge with present necessity. With links to climate change and global warming, the ecological crisis forces the Church to fully use its spiritual authority to guard God's creation from the results of human greed, since the roots of this crisis are spiritual and ethical, lying inside each man. Our answer then must be similarly thorough, combining more spiritual rejuvenation with pragmatic steps, like the initiative of the Ecumenical Patriarchate for setting September 1st as a day of environmental preservation. In this spirit, first, we support the establishment of a permanent Ecumenical Environmental Council directly under United Nations Advisory Authority to organize reactions of religious communities against climate change, against climate crisis. Acting as a link between spiritual traditions and world government, this group would provide moral direction on environmental policies and support interfaith cooperation on climate action. The Council would try to ensure that environmental policies reflect not only scientific understanding, but also spiritual insight on mankind's obligation as carer of creation. The long-standing experience of the Ecumenical Patriarchate in promoting communication between religions and civilizations shows how spiritual insight could guide pragmatic government. At the same time, the fast development of biotechnology and artificial intelligence calls for ethical systems anchored in ageless wisdom. For this reason, second, we support the development of artificial intelligence by means of a global ethical framework comprising religious and cultural points of view from different traditions. The Orthodox Church welcomes its responsibility to spread all truth contained in Holy Scripture and Holy Tradition, which naturally includes offering ethical direction for technological advancement. Based on millennia of spiritual knowledge about human nature and purpose, this paradigm would help to ensure that technological advancement serves rather than compromises human dignity. It would provide guidelines for the evolution of artificial intelligence that respect human uniqueness and optimize technological opportunities for the general good. Third, we stress the importance of inclusive economic policies that, as the Holy and Great Council of the Orthodox Church, June 2016, reaffirmed, admit that a sustainable economy is that which combines efficiency with justice and social solidarity. This concept asks us to welcome economic systems that balance social cohesiveness with production and human dignity, therefore transcending the exclusive market-driven solutions. By means of sustainable development, such actions will ensure that economic growth benefits the complete human family rather than merely a privileged few, and helps to solve wealth imbalance. The road ahead calls for answers that balance social justice with economic efficiency, scientific development with human dignity, and world collaboration with cultural variety. These ideas taken together offer a whole plan covering global issues that respect our spiritual legacy and our responsibilities to next generations. The Orthodox Church holds a special place in addressing global problems since, although it does not participate in political campaigning, its testimony with regard to human dignity and spiritual freedom naturally bears political relevance. This subtle method allows the Church to remain committed to its spiritual goal while significantly add to public debate. Our interaction with contemporary concerns stems from our basic dedication to human flourishing and spiritual well-being rather than from political ambition. Maintaining this cautious balance helps us approaching urgent worldwide problems without becoming caught in limited political objectives, focusing instead on universal values that advance human dignity and societal harmony. Our responsibility mainly consists in providing moral direction and spiritual insight, transcending political divisions. This strategy permits us to keep our spiritual integrity while nevertheless does not hinder us from participating in important conversations like economic fairness, technological developments, and climate crisis. By use of this lens, we can promote a more holistic approach to universal problems that respects divine wisdom as well as human dignity. Dear friends, in confronting today's challenges, we must remember the enduring lesson from the Council of Nicaea. True success arises from the harmonious integration of spiritual wisdom and practical governance. The impending common observance of Easter in 2025 serves not only as a calendar alignment, but also as a significant symbol of the potential unification among Christian traditions. This unique convergence presents an opportunity to transform symbolic unity into tangible partnership. Drawing inspiration from the example set by Nicaea, we can collaborate to ensure that this event catalyzes substantial action for the benefit of society. Like our ancestors 17 centuries ago, the path ahead necessitates the integration of our spiritual heritage with practical solutions. Let us seize this opportune moment to establish collaborative connections between religious wisdom and contemporary knowledge that will benefit future generations. Thank you for your kind attention.
marche là. Enfin, ça marche, oui, ça marche sans ça. Well, thank you very much, Your Holiness. And now I am going to give me the floor. Thank you. Your Holiness, Mr. Vice President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, on the threshold of the 17th World Policy Conference, I would like to remind you of the four main pillars that I reiterate year after year, varying the wording but always reflecting the same ideas. First, the WPC is intended as an objective and realistic reflection on the state of the world, with a view to strengthening its governance, its capacity to ensure structural stability. The idea of realism refers to understanding reality as it is, and not as we would like it to be from an ideological point of view. The notion of governance refers to creating rules of the game that are accepted by the states, which intentionally use these rules to ensure structural stability, aiming at developing international relations in the smoothest way possible in an ever-changing context. Secondly, since our first conference in 2008, we have consistently distanced ourselves from neoliberal globalization and the flat world concept from American author Tom Friedman. The world may be falling apart, but we believe that the globalization phenomenon is irreversible because of its technological foundations. Increasing openness always makes interdependency more complicated, but it also makes decisions more complicated, and therefore solutions become more and more difficult to find and to implement. Miscalculations are on the rise, particularly within political regimes which are more liable to emotions. According to the law of action and reaction, excessive openness frequently leads to the opposite direction, closure. In democratic states, governments are often unstable and unpredictable, hence the need to search for forms of global governance that will enable to maintain manageable levels of openness. Thirdly, from the outset, the WPC has been committed to promoting middle powers in the architecture of global governance. We are pleased to see that this simple idea has made great progress over the last 20 years. Fourthly, it has become more apparent every year that technology can take both a constructive and destructive role in the world order. It seems clear to us that a conference such as ours must aim at identifying technology's potential contributions to global and regional governance, for instance, to strengthen the European Union, thus helping to reinforce the structural stability of the world that the world needs to avoid moving towards chaos. Now, I would like to remind you of the origins of some of the major problems facing the international system today. Globally, we can see with hindsight that peace in the Islamic world ended in 1979 with the Iranian Revolution, followed by the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. The end of 1979 was also marked by the siege of Mecca, and the whole of the 90s by the Iran-Iraq war. The collapse of the Soviet Union then led to the invasion of Kuwait by Saddam Hussein's regime. All these movements were behind the American support for the Western Pakistan Mujahideen, which led to the defeat of the USSR, to September 11, and to the overthrow of Saddam Hussein by the neoconservative President George W. Bush in 2003. Long story short, Al-Qaeda and ISIS, Daesh in French. Then came the misnamed Arab Spring of 2011, which only served to increase further the spread of fundamental Islamism and terrorism. On a different level, it can be said that from 1979 onwards, political Islamism replaced the ideology of nationalism that had spread with decolonization. The second major phenomenon that forged today's world clearly was the collapse of the Soviet Union between 1989 and 1991. The main protagonists of the Cold War have shown themselves incapable of co-managing the end of a period that dominated world history for almost 50 years after World War II. They are jointly responsible for this failure, and we are all greatly suffering from the consequences today. Instead of the advent of a new security framework in Europe, we have suffered from the head-on collision of two antagonistic thrusts. The first, towards what some consider as a desire to rebuild the Russian Empire, and the second with the goal of extending what others call the American Empire, that is, in more neutral terms, the Euro-Atlantic institutions. Behind the emergence of BRICS and the Global South lies the desire for a majority of countries to avoid being caught between a rock and a hard place. Another phenomenon that also occurred at the end of the 1970s, which will perhaps appear to future historians as the most important, is the rise of China following the victory of its reformers. The West and China have gradually moved from friendly cooperation to confrontation. The major risk has been clearly identified as the Thucydides trap that could close around Taiwan. I would like to end this short list by mentioning three other challenges. First, the future of the European Union, which has grown too quickly since the fall of the Soviet Union and is lagging far behind the United States and China in terms of technology. Second, the economic and social consequences of COVID-19, which are still heavily felt. Third, climate change, which is becoming a global reality much faster than we anticipated, while the so-called international community is struggling to respond appropriately. Where do we stand now? There is currently no sign that jihadism is coming to an end. The latest events in Syria are a reminder of this fact. What has attracted the most attention since we met last year in Abu Dhabi, however, is the war that began on October 7, 2023. The war is now well in its second year. We would probably be facing a bifurcation if, for example, Israel decided to annex the West Bank and intervene in Iran without or perhaps with the United States. In this case, it would be difficult to predict what the consequences might be in the region and beyond. Can we seriously imagine another way, a reset, where Israel would go back to the two-state solution that emerged from the 1993 Oslo Accords and then collapse following the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin. A two-state solution would obviously be favorable to Arab countries that aspire to peace and prosperity. In any event, if there is one country that will play a fundamental role in shaping the course of history in the region, it is Iran. These topics will be discussed at length during this conference. There are also at least two main scenarios for the way the Russian-Ukrainian war will develop. In the first scenario, a negotiation process would more or less quickly begin after President Donald Trump's inauguration in the White House. Trump's first step would be to call for a ceasefire prior to peace consolidation being established in the region. This would potentially pave the way for reconstructing a European security system. Whatever happens, this would only be the beginning of a long and difficult process. The second scenario, which cannot be ruled out any more than a move derailing around Taiwan, would see the conflict escalate and spread to NATO. Can we trust the wisdom of the main players in this drama to judge that it won't come to that? As far as the rivalry between the United States and China is concerned, everything currently suggests that neither the Chinese themselves nor the Americans are willing to risk a real war, even if they are preparing for one. Barring a major domestic crisis in China that is difficult to imagine happening soon, it is certain that the regime will continue to claim that Taiwan belongs to the RPC, to the PRC, as it has always done since its establishment in 1949. The Communist Party is playing and will continue to play as in a game of Go, particularly by investing in the East and South China Seas. American and Chinese analysts are aware of the devastating global impacts of a real war between these two superpowers. In concrete terms, confrontation between the two countries is most visibly centered on technological and commercial matters. We will have to analyze the outlook in this conference. I would like to add a word about the European Union, which has been notoriously weakening, as I said, since the collapse of the Soviet Union. Since its inception, the European Union has remained closely linked to the United States, which has always referred to the Euro-Atlantic institutions as a whole. A new era is likely on the horizon with Donald Trump's return, and he is likely to focus China and the economy. American protection in Europe will no longer be guaranteed under the same conditions. The new period that is unfolding will be a decisive factor for the future of the transatlantic union and thus for the future of the European Union itself. It is said, and sometimes rightly so, that great shocks are an opportunity for great renewal. There are many of us in this room who hope so, because a strong European Union is in the interests of each of its members, but also, I am convinced, in the interests of the whole world. Because of its history and civilization, this union is destined to become a major balancing factor for the advent of a new international system more conducive to peace and prosperity. I conclude. When we look back on the history of the world, we realize how fragile peace is, locally and a fortiori globally. Generations of the happy globalization era, at least in certain countries, wanted to believe in the advent of perpetual peace and the universal extension of prosperity. Today, we can only conclude that we are already entering a second Cold War. The first, says historian Niall Ferguson, was a peace that was not a peace. The Cold War that is beginning might not be a war. It is now up to all forces of goodwill, and in particular, all of us gathered here, to think and act intelligently to contain and reduce the toxic impacts of this new Cold War. The main issue, ladies and gentlemen, is definitely to ensure that the Cold War does not degenerate into a full-scale world war. I thank you for your attention. I thank you all, friends of the WPC. I thank you for the United Arab Emirates who are hosting us here. And I wish all of us, including me, a good and fruitful conference. Thank you very much. And now we are moving to the first session, if we consider that this one was not the first one by only the opening session. Merci. C'est dangereux là. Il faut faire attention de ne pas se casser la figure.